So hello, everyone. I'm very pleased that I give a talk in the JSXGraph conference. And I already have 3 logos. So I noticed you have a new logo. I should have put it the JSXGraph logo as well. So my talk is about the HELM workbooks and a work that happened over summertime that I had 2 interns to create a few more workbooks and add some interactivity with some more JSXGraph. So here's the outline. First, I will explain what the HELM workbooks are. I'll give a bit of information about the STACK assessment system for people that don't know about STACK. And then we'll see some examples of HELM workbooks into STACK and some JSXGraph examples. And I will finish by talking about my intern's experience of using JSXGraph. So the mathematical education of engineers and scientists is important. And we heavily depend on course books. So that's the course book we use here at the University of Edinburgh, which is the Pearson one. There's another well-known engineering mathematics book. This is the one that I had as an undergrad student actually translated in the Greek language because I studied physics. So that was math for physics and engineers. And the HELM workbooks actually are a series of 48 workbooks for undergraduate engineers, and they cover the basic engineering mathematics and statistics teaching for first and second year students in a typical UK curriculum, but probably European curriculum as well. They were developed by the HELM Consortium. Actually, HELM stands for Help Engineers Learn Mathematics. And it was a 3-year project that was released in 2005. And all that was remained in 2020, when we started putting HELM into STACK, was only the PDF files of the workbooks. So during the summer of 2020 and 2021, the University of Edinburgh and Loughborough University undertook the effort to embed the HELM materials into Moodle. And the final result was a collection of Moodle quizzes that was a textbook style content. So it created like the theory, the examples, some tasks for students to work on, and some questions. And each HELM section, so the 48 workbooks are in total 190 sections. Each of these sections was translated into one Moodle quiz. And most of the questions that were created use the STACK system. We also included some just simple Moodle multiple choice and true false if the question didn't have any randomization. So the effort was supported from funding from the Erasmus Plus program in DiAM and also from U21 Global Educational Enhancement Fund. And mainly the money was to hire some interns to do the job. And why we use STACK? Obviously, we use STACK at the University of Edinburgh because Chris Sanguine, who is the main STACK developer, works here, and that's our main assessment software. But STACK is actually a good assessment tool. It's designed with a pedagogy in mind. It is continuously developed for over 20 years now, and there is a constant dialogue between the developers and the users of what the actual needs are. So I'll give a very brief overview of STACK for everyone who maybe doesn't know at all. So STACK is a system for teaching and assessment using computer algebra kernel. Is an assessment system for STEM, a plugin for Moodle and for Ilias system. And students can type an answer in the form of an algebraic expression, and it uses the computer algebra system Maxima, the background. And with STACK, the assessment moves beyond multiple choice questions. Students, they can type in an algebraic expression, which is validated from the system, and the students can see what they type in, and depending on that, they can submit their answer. STACK has multiple kind of input, different kind of inputs. We can have an algebraic input, we can have matrices, we can have reasoning, and you can also create multiple choice questions if you wish to, or true false questions. You can have numerical values, quite a lot of inputs. And With Stack, we have randomization, meaning by the way you code the question, students will see a different variant of the question. So in this specific example here, that's like calculate a simple integral, that's the pre-deployed variants that the students will see, which are slightly different, but students can, each student will have a different variant of the question. And also when they go back and redo the quiz for revision, they may get a new variant, so they get extra practice. A key feature of Stack is that separates validation for correctness, meaning that if students put something that is invalid, like here missing a multiplication symbol, they won't get penalized for that, for a technicality. They will receive a message that the answer is invalid. So they get the chance to put something that is valid. Obviously, if it's mathematically incorrect, they will get penalized. And the way Stack works is it uses the potential response trees. Actually, the CAS establishes the mathematical properties using answer tests, and they mark accordingly. And we have quite a lot of different answer tests. They don't even fit in the screen here in the screenshot I took. And each teacher decide what tests to use. And you can use multiple tests in one potential response tree regarding of the feedback you want to give to students or the way you want to treat the marks. And obviously, Stack provides support for maxima plot, JSXGraph, and GeoGebra as well. So you can have some graphs in the questions. So where to find Stack? You can learn more about Stack in the community webpage, stackassessment.org. And if you want to use Stack, you can create an account in our Stack demo server and maybe see some quizzes, or you may ask to have like a scratch area if you want to play a bit with Stack. So let's go and talk about how the HELM workbooks were translated into Stack. So the work we've done like back to 2020 and 2021, I sort of tried to put it in a kind of heat map. So we can see that we had completed like 62% of the HELM workbooks. So green are the workbooks that are fully done, and yellow and orange are the workbooks that are missing a few sessions, and red the ones that we haven't touched them at all. And also part of HELM, part of HELM Stack workbooks we have already translated into German from Dr. Michael Kalveit and Dr. Gozel Judakova, and also in Norwegian as well from Egil Kristad. So the existing HELM Stack workbooks have been translated, and probably there are a few more if people want to keep doing the translations. And 18 months ago, I received the funding from my university, the University of Edinburgh, to actually continue the digitalization of the HELM workbooks. I learned about the funding 5 days after I gave birth to my son. So I had to freeze the funding for a year, obviously, because I was on maternity leave. And this summer, I hired 2 interns to work and actually create a few more HELM materials. So these were the goals we had that were supposed to happen over the summertime. Actually, only 2 happened. We managed to add more interactive elements, especially using JSXGraph, and we created the workbooks that are needed for our second-year engineering teaching. We didn't manage to complete the set of HELM, but we're not so far from that. So my 2 interns were Louisa and Malachi. They were second-year mathematics students, just finished second year, and they had just some basic Python programming knowledge. They knew nothing about Stack. They've seen Stack assessment as part of, being students and doing Stack quizzes, but they knew nothing about Maxima and nothing about JavaScript. And I've done 2 trainings with them. So I delivered the Stack training at the beginning. So they spent the first month actually doing only some Stack questions to learn Maxima, basic HTML, how to deal with potential response trees, how to add test cases. And then after the first month, we had a JSXGraph training, which was delivered by Georg. And they learned of how to build a simple JSXGraph that just follows the randomization of the stack question, and also how to bind some variables and actually the graph to be part of the assessment as well. And we actually managed to finish mainly 3 workbooks, HELM 2729, which is mainly several variable calculus related. We went back to workbook 17 that has some JSXGraph, and we wanted to finish it. And we've done a small light touch to some extra workbooks, literally just putting the HTML into Stack and create like the description boxes, theory, but not any questions. Just because the 3 workbooks, 27, 28, and 29, were massive and huge, and it took quite a lot of time to work on them. So the progress now, we have translated into Stack something like 70% of the HELM materials. In reality, it's a bit more because the ones that are left are not very big. So if you think of actual length or actual pages, we've put more into Stack than actually you can see in this kind of heat map. And how to get HELM workbooks? You can download them from GitHub. They are released as open educational resources. I haven't put the newest version yet because I'm still reviewing the materials that were created. And we have the HELM golden copy in the Stack demo server. So some of you may be already teachers there. But if you want to have a look on the materials, you can give me a shout and I can add you there. So we'll see some examples. Now, can you see the new window that I opened?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I have a note, literally a piece of paper that I have a note of some questions that I want to show you, because as you can see, that the HELM area in our demo server is massive. Like each of these topics have various quizzes. So I'll go to find 27, the ones that my students created. So I'll just give you a tour of how like a section of HELM looks into Stack. Take it from the beginning. So we have some like of the background theory of the materials. There are some key points, and then students, they have some examples that they were on HELM, so we put them as examples as well. And then students have some, let's say, tasks to work on and fill in. So I'll just pick 2 questions. So let's say for this question here, the students need to solve a double integral, and the JSXGraph is part of the work solution. So the integration takes place over a rectangle area. So we use the graph as part of the solution. So the students would supposed to draw the rectangle themselves and solve the question and put the answer there. So we have that as part of the solution. It follows the randomization. So these are the pre-deployed variants in the Stack question. So we have 13 of them. So each of them is slightly different version. So each student will have a different, slightly different rectangle area. So I'll go back, probably, yes, here, continue last attempt. So we'll see another one. So this one, well, that's interesting because it has pi, and my student had some thought like pi was a bit tricky to handle. I'll talk about that later. So again, mainly the JSXGraph is part of the work solution. And some other examples I have here. So that second section, take it from the beginning. Again, there's some background theory. Like these are the original images from HELM, which we change them to SVG files. We didn't use any JSXGraph in these static images that, you know, are part of the example, so there is no randomization. We just put the SVGs here. So that's another question that, again, the JSXGraph is part of the solution as well. And the next one I want to show is question 7. Continue last preview. Probably here are a few more exercises. That's another one. We changed slightly the question so that adapts better for online assessment. So I think mainly that's a question that I want to show why it took quite a lot of time to just deal with these 3 workbooks, because most of the questions, they have very big work solutions, and it takes quite a lot of time for students to write them in. So the HELM materials do have solutions for tasks, but the final exercises, they only had like the final answer, not the whole worked solution. But we wanted every stack question to have a fully worked solution. So these are solutions that actually the students solved the integral themselves and then put the solutions. And that takes quite a lot of time to actually create. And I'll go back. I'll show one more example of 27.3. So in our server, we can't do 3D graphs yet. We haven't installed it. So that was another way to deal with some of, actually do 2D shapes to look like 3D shapes. We did some easy ones, like this one. You see, we just kept the original image because it was more tricky to develop. But they tried to do some images that look like 3D shapes. And just a last one. That is from 17. Actually, probably it will be easier if I go into the question bank to find that. 17.2. 72.3.1. Preview. And so here is an example. I think probably that's only this question and one more, that we bind some variables so that students need to actually find, move the sliders and find the correct representation of the ellipse and the curves. And the graph will be somehow their final answer. We didn't do a lot of them because these were more tricky to actually work on. So now I'm back to my slides. So hopefully you can still see my original presentation.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good. So now I'll give a few comments from my interns. Actually, I asked them to give a kind of talk or join me in the talk, but they had teaching activities. They are undergraduate students. They were having lectures to attend, so they couldn't join us today. So they had some challenges, stack-specific challenges. Stack has a steep learning curve, and obviously creating stack questions requires use maxima, some basic LaTeX, some basic HTML, which as finishing second year students, they knew nothing about them, so they had to learn maxima and HTML. They knew LaTeX, so that was good, but they had to learn maxima and HTML mainly from scratch, and also to write work solutions in this specific workbooks that we're dealing with, and work solutions that follow the randomization, that required quite a lot of time. Now, some JSXGraph specific challenges. There aren't many resources about JSXGraph into Stack, actually. I know there are a few stuff around, but you can find a lot about JSXGraph in general, but there were some specific challenges related to using JSXGraph into Stack. They found tricky to display labels on points that change from graph to graph with the randomization. And also the use of pi and e, they found it a bit tricky to use this maxima constant. These are not valid JavaScript symbols. So they had to deal them a bit different to appear on the graph as pi. But also they gain a few things. They became more confident in programming. They gained some pedagogical knowledge of adapting some paper-based questions to online ones. And that's what one of my interns, Luisa, said. So curve sketching with JSXGraph is very interesting. I think just the overall concept of being able to create graphs that change depending on the question is really cool. So she feels much more confident now with her programming skills because she learned stuff that she had to learn, obviously, by herself with very minimal guidance somehow. So what comes next? So regarding HELM, I want to digitalize the workbook 30 to 33 because Martin Krasker has kindly shared the stack questions, and I was hoping that this would happen this summertime, but the other 3 workbooks took so much time that we didn't touch this, but hopefully I will invest some of my time to deal with them in the next few months, and also to finish these 3 workbooks that my students put the theory there, but not any questions. Now, regarding use of JSXGraph, I would like to run an undergraduate project that investigates the assessment of graphs. I ran one 2 years ago, but it was mainly stack, and we barely touched any graph elements. I don't know if that's a recipe for failure for the students. I want to build on the knowledge I get after supervising 2 interns for like 12 weeks and see the difficulties they have, because I think they found stack and JSXGraph together challenging somehow. They required a lot of time to actually learn these things. So if I run it as a project that actually will be marked somehow, I want them not to fail. And I think that was me. If you want to get in touch, here is my email. So get in touch regarding HELM or regarding stack as well. And yes, I think I've finished.